All right, let's take our Bibles and turn to Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1, just a real quick review. We're outlining the first chapter of Proverbs. Verses 1 through 4 tells us the purpose of Proverbs. Verses 5 and 6 give an underlying principle that a wise man will hear, and a man of understanding will attain into wise counsels, and so forth. And then verse 7, you have the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is mentioned here, but there's another verse that reads pretty much the same, and it shows how that fools despise wisdom, and then we talked about what I call the first plea is verses 8 and 9, which is from Solomon to his son, to hear the instruction of thy father and forsake not the law of thy mother. And he told his son that his father's instructions combined with the law of his mother would be like an ornament to his head and chains about his neck. And of course those are symbols of great riches and honor. And so we're going to outline the rest of the chapter tonight. So let's pray and ask for God's help and guidance. Father, thank you so much for being our God, and thank you for making wisdom available and accessible. There's so many people that need it, so many foolish people, and so many decisions we have made in the past that are foolish, and we've suffered because of them so often. So I pray that you'd help each person who has made the effort to come here tonight to get a little bit more wisdom and understanding of things, and help us to get some of the underlying principles down and understand what it's going to take for us to get wisdom. And I pray it should bless us all according to our faith in your word, in Jesus' name. Amen. There is so much that I want to, when I try to prepare each Wednesday, it becomes like, oh, wow, where do I start? There's just so much. So I want to take a few minutes and just talk to you in general about the subject of wisdom before I get into actually finishing this outline. The rest of this chapter is going to deal with a certain subject. Basically, the outline of the rest of the chapter is Solomon preparing his son to avoid certain people. So you basically have two kinds of people in this world. You have foolish and wise people. Now, we're going to see some of the character traits of those that don't have wisdom. So let me repeat again what wisdom basically is. Wisdom is the proper application of knowledge. Knowledge is things that you can know. So foolishness is however people want to apply whatever facts and information they have gathered, whether it's true or not. With some folks, they don't care if it's true or not. If it feels good, if it makes them feel tough, if it makes them feel like they can, pull one over on somebody else or put someone else down and make themselves look bad. They don't care about right or wrong, a lot of people. And so ultimately, I think it could be said that wisdom is the reason, wisdom is what prevents catastrophes, disasters, and wars. Foolish people, we're going to find out, people that don't have wisdom, those that despise wisdom and instruction, are the ones that are behind all the wars in the world. Because they want something besides wisdom. See, I'm content. I don't need what anybody else has. So you don't have to worry about me stealing from you. Why? I don't want what you have. I'm glad God's given it to you, because I'm glad God's given to me what I have. So why would I want to sacrifice what I have and discount what God has done for me by taking what belongs to somebody else? Say, that's just common sense. But there are people who don't believe in God and don't respect God, and they're greedy, and so they think things ought to go to whoever can strong enough to get them and hold on to them. And if you can't hold on to what you got because I want it, tough luck. You're bad. You're lost. See, now those people don't have wisdom. They despise wisdom and instruction. And so what happens, they steal from somebody. And guess what? They get stolen from. Do you think thieves like being stolen from? Do you think they have the same attitude towards those that steal from them as the one attitude they have about them stealing from others? No. See, they don't think that far down. Why? They're living in the moment. See, like a guy told me one time, I like living on the edge. And I said, people fall off the edge. He didn't get it. Why? He didn't have any wisdom. That's why. And so wisdom really is, you're going to see from the rest of this chapter, what wisdom is really about is to protect you and give you a better life, a more peaceful life, and a blessed life. So, all right, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 10. I call this, verses 10, if you want to outline this a little bit more, I've divided the chapter into three sections, the rest of it. Verses 10 through 14 I call the second plea. The first plea was 8 through 10, or 8 and 9, and the second plea is 10 through 14. They both start with my son. And he says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Solomon pleads with his son. He says, my son, if sinners entice thee, in other words, if bad people who transgress the law of God, if they entice you, in other words, they try to get you to do something that you might not, number one, otherwise do because you've got scruples, or they try to make it attractive to you by offering you some benefits from, hey, go with us and do this. And so if sinners entice thee, he said, consent thou not. Do not consent. Don't go along. Don't condone what they do. Don't say, well, okay, well, don't give in other words. Stand your ground. Consent not. Okay? So, that's the plea. Now, verse 11 through 14 tell us, he goes in details. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Lay wait for blood. Laying wait, that's like ambushing. Ambushing and killing somebody or something. Let's steal so-and-so's cows. Let's steal so-and-so's dogs. Steal so-and-so's cats. Steal so-and-so's birds. Or let's kill so-and-so. They lay a wait, and that's why you don't want to consent to sinners, because they plan some bad things. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood, let us lurk privily. Privily just means privately. For the innocent without cause. We don't need a reason. See? He's a punk. He's a screwball. He's not like us. See? He's weird. See? They don't need any reason as long as, they're not one of us. And so, if they do this, and he continues the things that they say, let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole, that is completely, as those that go down into the pit. So what these people do is they show, keep on going. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. All right, what are they doing? They're saying, come with us, let us lay wait. That means they don't want to face people face to face. So the first characteristic of these kind of people are they're cowards. They want to lay wait. They want to lurk privily. See? So they're cowards, number one. So don't consent with cowards. By the way, this is what peer pressure is all about. The first thing Solomon's dealing with his son here is, hey, don't fall for peer pressure. If sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Don't fall for the peer pressure. The devil loves to use peer pressure and, hey, be like us. Do what we do. Go with us. And peer pressure is very powerful pressure, but don't give in to it. Learn to stand your own ground. Trust in the Lord. And so, first characteristics of these people, they're cowardly. Number two, they're violent. They will violate someone, even to the point of killing them or killing their animals or killing something that is dear and precious to them. Number three, they're pitiless. See, they don't have any pity. Let's swallow them up alive as the grave. They don't think about they're taking someone's life. It doesn't enter their mind. No pity whatsoever. And then number four, they're greedy. See, they're greedy. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Your house? Well, what about the house you're robbing? Don't you care about that? Don't you think they have a right to their spoil, or not their spoil, but what they have earned? All I care about is what's mine, what I can get. They're greedy, see? So don't hang around cowardly people. Don't hang around violent people. Don't hang around people that don't have pity, that don't have compassion. Don't say, oh, man, that's too bad. When they hear about a tragedy, say, oh, wow, ooh, that's brutal. Well, maybe, but, man, have some heart. Don't just describe it in some, unfeeling manner. Hang around people that have heart. Don't hang around people that have pity, not the pitiless. And then don't hang around greedy people. You hang around greedy people, pretty soon, guess what? They're going to want what you got. So I wouldn't hang around them, and let them be isolated. And then the last characteristic of these people is they have gang mentality. You see that in the first phrase. If they say, come with us. And of course you see that in verse 14. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. Gang mentality. Another characteristic you can add to that is they're conspirators. Because they come to you and say, hey, come with us. Which means they've already planned something, and now they want you to be a part of it. So they've already conspired to do something that's not right. And so, all right, so avoid cowards, avoid the violent, avoid the pitiless, avoid the greedy, avoid those that have gang mentality. Be friends with other people who stand on their own 2 feet, who are responsible, who have the principle they live by, the buck stops here. I'm responsible. I will pay any harm I've done to anybody. I will pay my own way. I don't need to freeload off anybody. And by the way, we got to be careful we don't get so independent that we don't get to where we rely on God. There are independent people who they don't have time for God. I'll take care of myself. I'll take my chances. No, we all need to trust in God. See, I wouldn't give you a dime for a guy who's independent, but also independent of God, because he's not going to have the moral character that he ought to have, because he didn't have trust in God. Trust in God is that's what tempers everything else. A guy who's I'm my own man can be hard as nails. Could end up being pretty pitiless himself. He may not go off and hurt anybody on purpose in an aggressive way, but he'll hurt a lot of people in that he doesn't care about them. He doesn't show I'm independent, and he won't allow anybody to help him who wants to help him. I'll take care of myself. I don't need any help. Well, why get married? That's what a wife is, a helpmeet. See? So you can't be too independent. Everybody needs somebody, and everybody's going to need somebody sometime. You got to learn the difference between freeloading and allowing someone else to be a blessing to you because they feel led of God to be a blessing because they see a need and you don't see it, or you don't. See what I'm saying? Allow people to help you at times. See, because it may be God's prompted them to do so. It's like the guy who complained one time. He died. And we got to him and said, Lord, how come you didn't hear me? I asked for you to help me when I was in that canoe and heading down the river toward the waterfall. I called you for help. And God says, yeah, I know. But when someone offered you said, no, I'm okay. and well, that guy, he didn't look very strong. I said, but he had a boat. He had a rope. And oh, by the way, Lord said, what about that guy another guy, the bigger boat? Well, that guy, he thinks he's hot stuff with his boat. I didn't want a guy like that to rescue me. No way in the world I'm going to let that show off help me. And I said, well, how about the guy in the helicopter that swooped down? And he says, what do you think I am, a sissy? And God says, well, I sent you three helps. You didn't take any of them. Why? Because we can get so independent that we don't recognize that we have a need
And we want God to satisfy it. Well, we want God to give us, throw money down from heaven so that we can help ourselves. No, God just might want to use somebody else. So anyway, that's a little extra. But so let's learn to be independent, but dependent upon God. And learn to love one another. And sometimes that means allow someone else to do something for you. Growing up in a family, when you have older brothers that look at you as the little brother, you have this inferiority complex where you always want to prove yourself. See? And I realized that through the years that many times that's why I like to say I did this and I did that. Not because I want to boast. I want people to know that I'm not worthless. There is a difference, Like someone said, hey, like if I'm reminded to do something that I'm planning on doing, that I already know to do, I like for people to know, I already know. Yeah, I know. See? And I think a lot of us are that. You can understand that, right? When you don't want to feel like, you don't want someone to think you're a dummy. Oh yeah, thanks for the reminder. See, I already knew that, So we got to learn to temper those things by dependence upon God and use wisdom and develop it and recognize. This is what wisdom does. Wisdom allows you to see your natural tendencies and the liabilities and the pros and the cons of them. Learn how to temper those things. Lessen the cons and increase the pros and increase the good things. And all right. Next section is what I call the third plea, verses 15 through 19. He says, "My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path." So, notice first thing he says, the first plea is, hear the instruction of thy father, forsake not the lie of the mother. Second plea is, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Third plea is, and that's their personal invitation. Third is, don't walk in the way with them. Walk not thou in the way with them. Now, why? He gives the reasons why after this. Okay, let's look at it. Why? Verse 16. Because their feet run to evil. And I don't want you to run to evil either. That's what Solomon's trying to say to his son. And they make haste to shed blood. It's he's emphasizing or going through sort of the same things he already said. Why? Young people need it over and over and over. We need to be reminded. Just because we've been told once doesn't mean it's going to stick. See? And that's why we all need to be able to increase our ability and our willingness to hear the same truths over and over. Because we tend to forget. We tend to get so busy. We tend to get sidetracked. And we need those reminders. So he reminds them again. It's the third plea. Walk not thou in the way with them, because they're quick to shed blood. In other words, life is meaningless to them. They don't respect the rights of other people. They don't respect the right to life. See? They don't self-govern. And so they're the type of people why we need government. Because government is for those that don't govern themselves. Government was never intended by God to control people who control themselves. See? Disciplined people never need to be disciplined. Only those who don't discipline themselves need to be disciplined when someone is harmed because of their lack of discipline. So, life is meaningless to them. They're not respectful of the rights of others. The next phrase, verse 17 is really interesting. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. Anybody ever wonder what that means? Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. Well, wait a minute. Fowlers, that was an honorable profession. You go out and catch birds and you sell them, either for food or for eggs or for bait or whatever. Feed your cats. But fowlers or people that go out and lay nets out for birds, and it was an occupation, like hunting. That's what you do with birds instead of other animals. So when you think of it that way, then it begins to make sense. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. That means this guy goes, he's a fowler, and this just, God uses this as an illustration of the overall mindset of these people. Why? They can't stick to a regular, boring, in their mind, a boring job. They can't sit and wait. They can't sit on the bank of a river and wait for fish to bite. They can't wait for a bird to walk into a trap. They want to live on the edge. They want action. These guys, they want action. They want violence. They want to go out and, hey, let's rub somebody out today. And it's exciting, it's thrilling, and working in a factory or doing something where you got to wait, that's boring to them. See? So, these people, they don't have the patience. They can't bear to stick with honest work. They want to get rich quick, even if it means at the expense of other people's lives and other people's properties. So, this is why you don't want to walk with people like that. If a person is shiftless, remember the old days, that's a term. The old days, if someone was shiftless, a mother or father would say to his son, don't hang around so-and-so, he's shiftless. That was a bad thing. You don't want to be around someone. What's a shiftless person? Someone just can't stand still. They're always, antsy. Why? They're going to go, they're looking for the action. They want something that's going to provide them excitement. They're not willing to bear working in a hot sun. I've done this. I've worked with people who, when they want to, when you got to pick a row of strawberries or something, they go, oh wow, look at this. It's got a bunch of strawberries here. They go for that one. Then they go over here. Oh, look at this bush. They don't have the patience to go from bush to bush to bush to bush to bush, and then to the next row of bush. They're looking for the big ones. They're looking for the excite. They don't have the patience to systematically do that. Same thing with people. I used to work with people cleaning buildings. And I say, okay, I need you to mop this long hallway here. And they go, wow. So they thought, I saw one guy, he actually got his mop, got it, wrung it out, and stuck it on the ground. He just started walking down the hallway. Hey! he walked up, 100, 200 feet, and didn't pick up the mop one time. So I had to tell him, look, you need to put the mop like this and go like this, and let the thing swing around because it picks up dirt. First you dust mop first, and I explain all that. Anyway, I teach them how to mop in a figure eight, so you always keep the dirt in front. And you only go so far, and then you rinse your mop out really good, get all that dirt out, twist it, and then you go back up maybe a little overlap a little bit, because that's probably the dirtiest there, and then you do some more, and you cover it, you make sure you don't leave any triangles. If you can go like this along the edge, and then go over here along that edge, drag along there, and you clean the floor. Don't just go through the motion. Just go, oh, there's a spot. Oh, yeah. Oh, that looks dirty. No, you do the whole thing. See? Systematically. Can you imagine a guy building a house? Oh, man, I want to build a house. So he starts on the foundation, but he gets excited. Oh, I want to build a doorway. So he builds a doorway. Oh, let's see. Oh, man, rafters. You can't do rafters until you do the walls. And you can't put the shingles on. Oh, I can't wait to do those shingles. Boy, I can't. And he cuts corners so he can get to where he can put the shingles on. You got to take care of everything step by step. So you don't want to hang around people that are in a hurry, always in a hurry to go do something. And they're antsy. Hang around people that are methodical, that know that the sun's going to rise and it's going to set. Don't have to get everything done today, but I'm going to do as much as I can, systematically work through, and you'll have better friends when you pick people like that rather than those that are always up in the air about, hey, let's go here. We can do this later. There's something exciting going on right now. Okay? This is good wisdom, isn't it? All right. Let's see what else. Verse 18. And they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. These people don't realize that the shortcuts they're taking, the fact that they're not willing to put up with the process of life, is going to come back to them. It's going to come back and haunt them. Just like people that cheated when I was in school. People that cheated. I never understood cheating. I did one time, and I wasn't smart enough to cheat from a smart guy. I just cheated for somebody that I thought I knew I hadn't studied. So I picked the wrong guy. And got a bad grade because he wasn't all that smart anyway. But it dawned on me, those were not my answers anyway. If I'm gonna fail a test, I want to fail because of my wrong answers, not somebody else's. So God actually is a good thing. God in His mercy taught me that lesson to where, and then I figured out, well, if He had gotten the right answers, would I feel good about it? I figured that out all on my own, see. And so I realized, I want to go through life based on what I have done, not based on what someone else has done. So, but anyway, people that cheat, it always comes back to haunt them, see. Because someday that someone's going to say, hey, I thought you finished high school. How come you can't do this? How come you don't know this? You see. So they don't realize they're hunting for their own blood there. And plus you got the law of sowing and reaping that comes into play here. They're going to reap what they sow. And they don't understand. You be cruel to somebody else, someone's going to be cruel to you, and much worse, because you're going to reap more than what you sow. You always do. You plant one seed, and what are you going to get? You're going to get a bush or a tree or something that's going to produce a whole lot more than what you put in the ground. And when you do some deed, by the way, it works both ways, good and bad. So sow good deeds, and you'll reap a lot more good. But when you sow evil deeds, you are actually sowing. You're asking for a lot of trouble. And we'll see more of that later on in the chapter. But so let's go to the next verse, verse 19. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. So this is just the way of all people who are greedy of gain. This is the way they are. And Solomon is trying to wake up his son to that. And hey, pay attention. Don't hang around these people. Don't walk in their way. Don't consent to their invitations. Don't, just because they're the Mr. Cool right now, because they haven't been caught yet, don't give in to the temptation to be part of the inner circle, the in crowd, the hip crowd. See, because their day's coming, and they're going to reap what they sow. All right, then the rest of the chapter is a whole nother section. I call this the cry of wisdom, verses 20 through 33. Wisdom crieth without. Now there's another outside. She uttereth her voice in the streets. Now if wisdom crieth without, that means it's everywhere, doesn't it? She utters her voice in the streets. That means anybody can get wisdom if they'll listen and notice, pay attention, look. All right, so here's the cry of wisdom. Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse. Notice where the most crowds go. In the openings of the gates. By the way, that's why wise people are people watchers. If you'll learn to watch other people, keep your mouth closed, but watch other people. Not all the time, you got to eat, but anyway, you know what I mean. But watch people. Why? You'll get a lot of wisdom. You'll see people doing stuff, and you'll see people in a hurry to do something. They grab their, like you go to the airport or go to a bus stop, and you'll see someone, and they'll reach for their stuff, and they're so focused on that, they don't realize that their strap is wrapped around something, and they pull something because they're in so big of a hurry, and they break their strap, or they do something. I learned from watching other people when they do things because they're in too big a hurry. So therefore, when I reach, I make sure I grab it. Make sure I'm not grabbing something else that I'm not paying attention to. I learned a long time ago, do what I do carefully. Be aware of what I'm doing, see. So that's why you rarely see me trip and fall. You rarely see me get hurt. If I get hurt, it's because I'm doing dangerous work. And even then, I'm pretty careful. So I learned a long time. For example, one of the benefits of this is you learn of paying attention and noticing, having your eyes open. The other day I lost, on the laptop computers you have these little rubber feet that keep from really sliding. Well, the two of them came off on the back near the hinge, near the bottom. Because it's a new battery pack, and so it comes with new ones. And anyway, they came off. And somewhere between my office and here, or maybe between here and there. I forget which way, but anyway. But I lost them. And I remember as a little kid, first time I lost something, I learned how to, instead of, oh, I lost it. No, nobody loses anything really. You just lose track of where it is. It ain't lost. It is where it is because of certain laws of physics. So I learned to observe the laws of gravity, laws of the physics of objects. A piece of rubber is going to bounce more than a piece of plastic, more likely. And everything has tensile strength and bending abilities or lack thereof. And so I got to thinking, okay, where did those things come off? They must have come off when I dragged it off of something, or when I stuffed it in the bag, or somehow I carry it. Sometimes I carry it without putting it in the bag. And I don't remember the details now, but I went back over my trip and I found both those little tiny rubber things. I found them both because I thought about, okay, how could it have happened? See, because I've been learning practice for years to observe and watch what happens. See, so when I played sports, I watched what happens when people, basketball, how many ever played basketball? When you first start playing basketball, you're dribbling, and some of these guys and the ball bounces, it gets away from them. They don't learn to control it when it comes off the ground. They react to it instead of controlling it. And so I remember learning to do those things and learning how to let the ball slide and spin on my hand, but control it. I learned little things like that. I learned how to balance myself. So what this verse is telling us, what Solomon is telling his son, look, pay attention. You can learn wisdom and how to do all kinds of anything you ever need to do. There's a wise way to do it. There's a foolish way to do it. There's a way to do it with care, and there's a way to do it without any care. Wisdom, if you open your eyes and watch other people, watch them make mistakes. Have you ever seen anybody who's trying to do something and they're trying to reach for something on the edge of a wading pool or a fountain or whatever, and you just know they're falling in. You see it coming, okay? Now why? You're watching and you're observing and you're seeing. But there's some people, they don't notice things like that. And so what happens? They become victims of accidents, see, all the time. Do you know there's a reason? How many of you, those of you who have ridden with me while I have the steering wheel in my car, you know that sometimes my mind is on other things. It's a miracle by the grace of God, but it's also because I've been observing for years. And I know how to do things without hardly looking sometimes. My wife doesn't understand this, but when I'm in my office and it's nighttime and I need something out of the kitchen, or I'm going to take something somewhere and I want to cut through that area, I don't turn lights on. I know my way in the dark, see. And unless someone moves something, but and there's times when I'd walk through from my office all the way to the kitchen area, and it's a very narrow opening, and I know when to go like this, and it's pretty dark in there, but I know my way around. So once in a while, I can go in at nighttime in the bedroom, and I can reach in the dark and pretty much land right on the switch for light underneath the shade. I'm not. Please don't get. I'm not trying to show. I'm saying there's a way to observe things and learn things to where you become more aware. You're more cognizant. And look, I was talking to my dad about this the other day, and I've told some of you about this. I think it blew my mind. I saw a guy. I love to play the piano, and I love playing the piano. But I realize I have great limitations. I'll never be a really, really good piano player. I don't have that dexterity that good piano players have. And so I was talking to my dad about that Sunday night. And I had shown him a video of a blind man playing the piano. He played a concerto with an orchestra. He's playing very, very difficult music, and I never only heard him make one mistake the whole 35-minute, 36-minute long concerto. He's blind. And some of these, he's got to do octaves. Oh, wait, I can't do octaves and do a tune without looking. And even looking, I still land on the wrong key sometimes. So what I'm saying is, some people, blind people, sometimes develop stronger senses of things. So what I'm saying here is wisdom is without. Some people have a better ability to notice things than other people. So the point is, start looking. Wisdom crieth out. Look, listen. The more you watch, the more you listen, the more you pay attention. As my dad said, look, you'll never be too poor to pay attention. No one's that poor. And also he'd say, be alert. The world needs more alerts. Anyway, so Dad gave us some things, some motivations to pay attention. And to notice and focus and concentrate and notice. And so people who go through life because they're pursuing what they want instead of noticing and taking time are people that are going to be, number one, somewhat careless in the way things they do, sloppy in the way they do things because they don't pay attention to detail. And they may get more done. For example, I'll guarantee you there's people who get more done than I do. But when I get something done, it's done well, pretty much. And certainly better than average. The whole point here is that Solomon wants his son to not be a sloppy bum, not be someone who goes for the easy kill and the easy money, and which ends up being disrespectful to other people's property and life, but to pay attention to life, all life that's going on around you. Brother Brower, you're going hunting. You of all people know that when it comes to hunting, there's a wise way and a foolish way to hunt. And all kinds of in-betweens. So a good hunter learns to observe other people when he's young. And learns, or even when you're older, and you learn from the mistakes of others. See? So I learned from reading books. So the first time I went hunting, and of course I used to practice with a BB gun and so forth, so as far as shooting is concerned, but I learned from reading books about how to be careful about what you step on. Watch what you step on. Learn how to walk through dry leaves without making too much noise. Broken sticks and stuff. And how to walk in such a way that you bend stuff instead of snapping them and so forth. Anyway, there's just so many things to learn. Now, when it comes to the Christian life, we need to watch how other people live. See, I used to observe. I'd sit and watch people in church when I was a kid. I'd see people sitting there like this. Time to sing. They're just looking around. They weren't singing. And I remember thinking, wait, it's time to sing. How come they're not singing? Why would they not be singing when you got a song leader? So number one, they don't want to follow anybody. So they want to be their own man. Okay, so what if they get married? Are they like when their wife doesn't want to follow them? So I learned to think like that. I'd watch people and said, I don't want to be that way. So when the preacher say, turn your songbook, such, I'd turn to my songbook, even if I knew it. See? Why? Because you never know. Some visitor might come and sit next to you, and you already got the songbook open. So if you know the songs, turn to it anyway, and practice not looking. By the way, you may not know all the words of all the verses, so may as well have it open. And besides, then maybe if you hear someone come in late behind you afterwards, someone maybe had a car breakdown or a sick child or something, they had to get a babysitter or take them to the hospital or something, or you never know, but someone could come in late, and guess what? You don't need the songbook? Good. Hey, here it is. We're already in the middle, we're already in the second verse, but now, you see what I'm saying? There's reasons to look and be aware of what's going on around you, instead of just going through life, I want what I want, I'm going after that, and everybody else get out of my way. So these are some real underlining situations here. All right, verse 20. 1 we left off. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones? Now let me introduce you to a type of person talked about in there's several people, I'll list a few, and I'm not going to go through and list them all and define them. We'll do that as we go. But there's wise people talked about in the book of Proverbs. There's foolish people. And now here's a new person, a simple one. Wisdom cries out to the simple. Doesn't cry out to the foolish very often. They're not listening anyway. But wisdom cries out to the simple. And it says, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Okay, wisdom does cry out to everybody. But look what it says. How long are you going to stay the way you are? See, wisdom is something you need so you don't stay the way you are the rest of your life. Is anybody here satisfied with the way you are right now? And you want to stay the way you are now the rest of your life? No, or you wouldn't be here. So that's the first thing. Wisdom is crying out to you. How long do you want to stay the way you are? Wisdom wants to see if you're hungry enough to go after her. Wisdom crieth out, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity? So, decide. I want to learn some complexity. I want to graduate from simple things to more complex things. But you're going to have to start paying more attention. You have to start listening more, see, to her voice. Verse 23. Look what wisdom does. Turn you at my reproof. What does wisdom do? Wisdom reproves everything. Wisdom is repetitious because it wants you to get it. Wisdom reproves. People that don't want wisdom cries out to them, and it says, turn you at my reproof. So here's the thing. If you can't take reproof, you'll never get much wisdom. Because that's what wisdom does. Always reproving you and showing you where you're wrong and what's right. If you can't take that, if you're too proud for that, you're going to lack wisdom the rest of your life in a big way. So you've got to be willing to be reproved. See? All right? Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Wow. That sounds like something from God, doesn't it? Yeah. God says, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh. And Jesus told his disciples to tarry at Jerusalem until ye be endued with power from on. He didn't say, go into all the world and preach the gospel now. No, he said, tarry first. Wait for wisdom. You got to wait for wisdom. You can't just go charging out and say, well, I want all the wisdom and I want it now. No, you got to pay the price. You got to be able to take some reproof, and that proof has got to be tested. And you got to be willing to go through whatever hoops God wants you to jump through to get wisdom. So, wisdom says, turn you at my reproof. If you don't, you're going to be the way you are for a long, long time. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Now, verse 24. Here is the result of those that don't listen. Because I have called, and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. What's a hand for? It's a helping hand. Wisdom will help you out once in a while. But if you don't regard it, verse 25 says, but ye have set at naught, notice you count it as nothing, all my counsel, and would, notice that's another form of the word will, like willpower, ye would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. Wise people who have an opportunity to get wisdom and don't get it always suffer calamities. Calamities come. See? So listen to wisdom. Take reproof. Learn from others. Watch and listen.
And but you have said it not, all my counsel with none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. The day's going to come when all of a sudden you're going to realize, uh-oh, the jig's up. I'm in trouble. Uh-oh, my sneaking ways are catching up to me, and so forth. And it's going to be a day of fear. And what's wisdom going to do? Wisdom's going to mock you because you didn't listen to her. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh, now look how verse 27 describes how it'll come. As desolation. And your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, like a hurricane. When distress and anguish cometh upon you. Look at verse 28. Then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. Wisdom is not something you can put off and put off and put off. See? I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. Why? Verse 29 explains, for that they hated knowledge, did not choose the fear of the Lord. Remember, that's the beginning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, the beginning of wisdom. But they didn't choose that. See? And so, therefore, calamity comes, and wisdom's just going to laugh and mock them. And no matter how much they cry for it, they're not going to get it. All right, now verse 30. They would none of my counsel, they despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own ways. Now what ways are those? Well, we read those. Feet run to evil, make haste, shed blood. See what I'm saying? They don't realize it, that they lurk for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. Why? It's going to come back on them. And that's what this verse confirms. They'll be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. People who get rich quick, instead of in a wise way, it's going to come back and hurt them. It'll destroy them. Verse 33 culminates everything. But, here's the contrast. Whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. Does that mean there'll be no evil? No, but they'll be quiet from the fear of it. They're not going to be, oh, what am I going to do? Wringing their hands and pulling out their, what are we going to do? No, they'll be quiet from the fear of evil. The fear of evil is not going to get them all out of sorts. They'll be cool, calm, and collected, and they'll know what to do. So, I don't know about you, but that's the way I want to be. So, I want to listen to reproof. And by the way, reproof is proving something again. So, I'm always looking for proofs of things. See? Positive and negative. I want reproof. I want it over and over and over. I want to embed it in my mind. I don't want to forget. I don't want to be a forgetful reader and thinker and so forth, an observer. So, I don't want anything to get old. I want everything fresh. See? And that's what leads to wisdom. And wisdom leads to dwelling safely and free from fear of evil. So, that's ultimately what the rest of everything is all about. Don't we want to be free people? Have liberty and peace and contentment. Those things all come from wisdom. And I think every one of us could point to times in our lives where we've suffered because we did not have wisdom. So that's a good motivating factor right there, isn't it? All right. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word. It is so rich with things. I pray that you'll increase our ability to make relationships in our minds as we learn things. You can only use so many words to teach us about wisdom. But you chose words that if we get the picture, we can create more similar pictures that can relate to our life, and that we can hear wisdom's voice and hear her instructions, her reproofs, and her counsels. I just pray that you'd help us all to be hungry for more. Be willing to take the reproof.
so that we can ultimately dwell safely and free from the fear of evil. Bless us, we pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.